What's up, guys? It's Eli here. I'm over at Metrolina Martial Arts with my man Ed Stahl, and we were doing some different discussions, different videos and stuff like that, so we got some cool content coming from our time together. It's really important in this day and age that your jiu-jitsu, especially from a competitive standpoint, but even from self-defense, from anything else, incorporates wrestling, because it's all in the same family and wrestlers have a lot of superior takedown ability over even judo and jiu-jitsu. So having said all that, I'm gonna explore a fairly simple concept today, but give you some options for if you're like me and you don't have a classical wrestling background. Granted, this is all wrestling, but we're dealing with the collar tie. Essentially, the collar tie is where I'm grabbing the back of Ed's neck or head here like this. I'm pulling him in, I'm kind of resting here like this. Now, why would I do this? Because it can help to steer him around. I can couple the collar tie with like a bicep tie. I can use this for snap downs. I can use this to set up duck unders and all kinds of different stuff. So whenever he gets a collar tie on me, the same thing can happen. So when we're here like this, I've got to be careful, because if I allow him to affect my posture too much, he's going to have a lot of good options as far as be able to off balance and break me down and everything like that. So how I get rid of this is an important consideration. So one is that if he's very telegraphed on it, then the big thing that I need to do is just kind of like pass it by, right? And sometimes you'll get this whenever somebody just kind of really clubs this way, usually if they're pissed off, and then whenever they're trying to get it and they're just trying to knock you out. But you don't typically, whenever you're going to initiate a collar tie, you typically don't want to circle it like a haymaker, because it's like a haymaker, and so it's more telegraphed, right? So if I'm gonna hit you, you're gonna see that coming a lot more less than that. So if it is telegraphed though, then I'm just gonna try to pass it by, or I'm just gonna try to get rid of it, or even turn it into my own grab here to where I can establish a wrist tie on him. However, if he does get this fully committed inside here and we're wrestling, however, or we're in a double, we're in a collar tie and a elbow tie like this too, then sometimes you'll see guys just lock horns and be here, and it's just kind of a contest of strength. But let's approach this a little bit more from a defensive standpoint where I'm at. So one thing that I can do is I can just strip it. When I go to strip it, I want to put internal like torque on his arm here like this, so it kind of ties his shoulder up. And then whether it's I'm using the outside of my forearm or just my shoulder here, that's going to put that torque, and I'm going to be able to try to strip that wrist off like this here, right? I suggest that you especially employ these tactics if he doesn't have all the fingers on this hand. That
Definitely
makes it a lot easier. So that aside though, so whenever we're here and I'm just going to go to strip it, and then maybe I'll wind up with my own Russian tie, or maybe I'll wind up climbing in to get my own kind of like tie around him. So that's a good way to do it. There's also, you can duck under it, right? So if we're here like this and we're kind of like inside, there's different ways that I can look to duck under. I can come here and I can bump with the outside of my forearm, or I can just post with a web of my hand here like this. And then from that duck under, I can be able to go underneath. Now, that requires a little bit of explosiveness to be able to drop your level, like so to get that level change for your duck under and make sure that you're not compromising your posture. I used to have a really hard time with that, and so I would practice and try to get better at it, but then I had somebody show me a throw by or a slide by, and that was a game changer for me, especially the way that he showed it to me. So a couple different ways you'll see this. One's a little more of a throw by, one's a little more of a slide by. And it generally comes down a lot to what you're doing with your body versus what you're doing to his body, which will determine whether it's a throw by or a slide by. I would defer to somebody else with a lot more technical wrestling knowledge for that, but this is the general concept. So one is that from here, I'm gonna get my own kind of collar tie here like this, and then as I go here, I wanna get my collarbone below his elbow. So I'm gonna kind of use this. A lot of times people will reference like a wristwatch type of grip here, and I wanna turn and duck my level down here like this. So I've essentially kind of pushed his arm or thrown his arm by. I still have this tie up here. I can come over, get the waist grip. I can look to move into the back here like this, or I can keep this and try to just kind of spiral ride him down this direction. So now, so that's one way we can look to do it, is if I feel like I have the ability to pull him in and turn my position and get this. The way that I was taught this by a good friend of mine, Christopher Petty, who's a really good wrestler and MMA fighter, and he showed me the first time I ever saw a throat block, and it was a game changer for me. So let's turn this side here. The throw block essentially is like, as he's got this tie up, rather than me trying to move this and it's like really powerful, I'm gonna take my hand and just basically kind of like karate chop. I'm not hitting, but I'm pressing. And I can make it even nastier. Rather than just posting, I can actually pull him into it, so I'm kind of like half choking him here. So that's gonna get some kind of response sometimes. So yeah, whenever we're here, the next thing I'm gonna look to do is I'm gonna slide down. As I go to turn, I'm gonna slide down his bicep. Let's turn this way a second. So I'm posting in on the throat, I'm kind of pulling him into it, and then I'm gonna slide and I'm gonna turn and throw that arm by. So I'm catching in here, and I tend to think of it kind of like a discus throw. I've never actually thrown a discus, but I've seen it done, and it looks like that's what they're doing.
Like the ultimate frisbee people too. They're like,
right, yeah, like that. So without the 360 spin, I'm gonna kind of throw that discus or frisbee here like that. And once I throw him by, and again to kind of slow it down, I'm looking that direction so it clears off my head. I toss that arm by, and again, I'm back here on the waist, and then we're looking for all kinds of cool setup trips, takedowns, everything like that. So that's another way that we can possibly look to clear that kind of collar tie. Some kind of specialized conditions here like this, like when we're in this position, I can also grab my own bicep sometimes. So this is another way that I can look to do a duck under. Again, I still prefer that throw by or the slide by, but we can go here. So this kind of leverages here like this. So I'm creating a fulcrum here to be able to pop that here to get underneath. So another way too, rather than just hitting it, I can create that fulcrum. Right now, getting into a little bit more specialized, this is not something typically you're going to see a lot of the time, but it does have its place in wrestling and in grappling. But a lot of times you'll see this more like Muay Thai. So you get like a double collar tie. So the guy is here, which the way we might use this in grappling, rather than grabbing and trying to throw knees or whatever, and like we do in Muay Thai, I may grab this just to be able to snap, and get like really heavy on his neck to set something up, maybe get a recoil so I can shoot back in off of it. But if you wind up in this double collar tie position, first thing is from here, like generally, the more my hips get away from him and the more my head goes down, the more control he's gonna have over that. So that's bad, so I wanna kind of do the inverse of that, which is get my hips in and get my head up, and then maybe start trying to re-pummel in this way. Additionally, what I can look to do from there too is I can take one from the outside and swim back in. So we're getting here, and I'm gonna put my fist over here in his armpit this way, right? So as we do that, let's turn this direction because my shoulder sucks on that side. As we get here and I put this fist in his armpit, now I'm gonna turn this direction and kind of leverage down, right? So if I can break that, now I can re-pummel with him, maybe work out to my own arm drag. But that's a good way to break and kind of wedge in there and break that grip here. So again, from this double collar tie here like this, either get my hips in and my head up, right? If I'm late, get that fist in here like this, turn and try to help pop and break that here, and then go into maybe an arm drag, right? Additionally, if it's really tight, and I can't even get in that space here, I may need to reach around because he's bringing his ear closer to me now. So I'm gonna reach around that side, try to grab toward his ear this way, and then I'm gonna, again, turn and pull off to the side here like this, right? Once that's made here, now I can maybe either re-pummel with him, get to my bicep tie, or come back here, or strip, again, go back to my Russian on the outside. A question from the audience is, like, what if you are significantly shorter or smaller or whatever? You're gonna have a much harder time. Like, just across the board, there's always the comparison of, like, if you are smaller than the person that you're fighting, grappling against, whatever the condition is, you have to be that much better, right? That's just how it is. But there is a benefit to having a high disparities because you have a lower center of gravity. And you look at somebody like Victoria Anthony, who, or Victoria Vortex on all the socials, and she is tiny, but she's dynamite, and she's just amazing to watch. And the benefit of, so watch her videos, but the benefit of being lower, if I am shorter down here like this, well, I have less of a level to drop, right? I'm already, so he's already reaching down this way. So again, posture is really what makes it for me, because if I keep an upright posture, but I'm shorter, well, then I've already got a lower level, right? So if I want to start to like duck under and come underneath, then I'm going to have an easier time. However, if I am shorter and I break my posture, he's gonna have an easier time snapping me down into takedowns, just planting my face on the ground, or snapping me down into guillotines and headlocks. So we don't want that to happen, right?
All right, so quick question. If I get the collar tie, and let's say you overwrap or something like that, and then your other hand comes in, and then we do, like, I see this a lot in jiu-jitsu, why?
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, so the question about interlacing the fingers, right? Yeah. this is a pissing contest. It's a penile measuring contest to see who's stronger. Like now, that's not the only reason. This can be useful, but if it really is an ego thing for the most part. You're not gonna like you see this a lot of the time in grappling. You see guys like come in here and they're interlacing fingers like that, and it's just a bad idea to a big degree. Now, having said that, if you have extreme hand strength, you watch somebody like Wagner Hocha and guys like that.
Oh yeah.
Don't do that with him. He'll just rip your whole hand off. He gets wrist locks and stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
I will say, a technique off of here is to get it underneath and that kind of mercy thing like here, and then grab here this way. So maybe I can get a wrist lock just straight from there, or maybe he hates this so bad I can turn it into my own arm drag.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, there are technical things you can do from it, but to me, the juice is not worth the squeeze, like literally on that. Good question.
Thanks.
Yeah. Go back and watch these, see which one you think is going to fit you the best, and try them each out. Whenever you're training these, make sure that you don't just like take the first one and be like, okay, that didn't work for me, because it probably won't, right? But the more repetition you spend on them, you're going to find the one that fits your body style, your level of athleticism and physicality and all of that stuff. And let me know which one you like, and if I didn't mention the one you like the best, then let me know what that is so I can go and I can learn more too. So anyway, I appreciate you, Ed.
Yes.
And I appreciate you guys watching. Keep watching the Night Jiu-Jitsu channel.